Guys, today we're going to do part 2 of micro stakes or high stakes, where I review a hand. I'm not telling you which stake it is, and then afterwards you guys have to guess whether or not this hand was played at micro stakes or at high stakes. So I haven't looked at the hands, but last time they were very funny and entertaining. So let's have a look. $2.5x open raise by MP, pretty standard open raise size. And big blind 3-bets to 11.5. So that's a pretty cool, pretty cool 3-bet size. So far, looks pretty good. So it seems like this hand was played at high stakes, but who knows? Flops 10-9 deuce, okay. Pretty good board for especially middle position. Middle position is going to have pocket 10s a lot, pocket 9s, hands like king, queen of clubs. So, but out of position is doing just fine. If he has a hand like pocket queens, he's pretty happy. And so the big blind goes for a big bet, thinking, well, I want to bet big here, get a lot of value. There's a lot of bad cards to come. Just want to get value with my overpair. Makes sense. Turn is a 5, which doesn't improve anybody. Maybe 5-6 of clubs or ace-5 of clubs or something, but that's about it. Villain bets pretty big again, trying to get value. I like it. And in position shoves, which should be happening quite aggressively. I like it. This hand was played quite well, unless, of course, the hand was terrible. Okay, so out of position is pocket jacks. Good play so far. And in position as king 10 suited. Okay, so, I mean, I imagine this hand was played at high stakes. Both players, I mean, the 3-bet size and the c-bet size, everything looked pretty good to me. So, yeah, I don't have much to say about this one, actually. I assume this was played at high stakes. Let's see. Let's find out. Okay, this hand was actually played at NL... Wow, NL10. Man, that's kind of scary, right? So yeah, this hand was actually played in NL10. So it seems like people at NL10 have no leaks anymore. This hand was actually played great. So for the next one, I'll actually ask you guys, not just talk myself, but I didn't expect that one. I thought this one was played at high stakes. So we see a 3 big blinds open raise on the button. This is not something you see very often at higher stakes, but there's a couple of people who like it. A guy like Stefan, I mean, I've seen him go 4x, min raise, limp. He does everything. So maybe this is Stefan. Small blind 3 bets, kind of on the smaller side, given that the button 3 bets so large. Big blind folds and gets a call. Ace 5-3 is a board you can play in a couple of different ways, but it's obviously a pretty good board for out of position. Out of position goes for a 3rd pawn bet, okay? That's something we see quite often. And in position's main play is going to be to call. It is not an amazing board for you, so it's not a board on which you're going to go crazy, right? Turn 4 makes the board very draw heavy, but a deuce is not very likely for either person. 6-7 suited, I guess, is a bit more likely. So out of position is saying, hey, I don't really care about this deuce. I don't really care about 2 pair. I'm just going to go for it. And in position saying, listen, I do have the 6-7. I do have the 2 pair to set, and I'm going to be putting you in a tough spot. Okay, so he gets called. River's a jack, doesn't really change anything. I guess out of position could have ace jack or something and now beat ace 4 or 5-4. It is possible, but pretty unlikely. So out of position is aces here, okay? I mean, his 3-bet is obviously good. His c-bet is fine. He could have definitely just slow played the turn, either by checking the turn or by just calling, or just by checking the turn. But betting is an okay play. I mean, you do have top set. The problem is it's difficult to get called by a lot of worse hands. When you have aces, it's just quite likely your opponent has, I don't know, king, queen with a spade, let's say, and he will just fold, whereas you could have maybe trapped him otherwise. So, villain has aces, can't blame him, and in position actually has pocket deuces. Man, that's some serious run good right there. So he's thinking, well, I don't block any pair, villain could have aces, he could have aces up, and he's not going to fold an ace. It's going to look like I don't really have a deuce, but I do have a deuce, so when I shove here, I'm going to get called. So, guys, what do you think? High stakes or micro stakes? Take a guess. Okay, micro, nosebleeds, high stakes, bit of everything. High stakes, micro. You guys seem to be about 50-50. All right, so drum roll. It was actually played at NL2. It was actually played at NL2. So let's show massive player name. So Ari Dark versus CHRNV. So nice hand, guys. Nice hand. 226 big blinds, which is a $4.52 pot, which gives you I would say in Romania, about 9 Snickers. In the Netherlands nowadays, more like 4 or 5 Snickers. Or if you go to the casino in Barcelona, you get 1 Snickers. So nice hand. I like it. Next hand, guys, micro stakes or high stakes. So we see a 2.6x open raise, a little bit unconventional. There's only one player I know use that sizing, and that's Poker Clucka, but he uses it on the button. So I don't think it is him. That kind of tells me it could be micro stakes, the fact that it's an unusual sizing. 9.5 BB 3-bet, pretty standard. Oh, actually, it's quite large of a 3-bet. I almost said standard. It's quite a pretty large 3-bet. Okay. Call. Flop is 9-8 deuce, which is okay for both guys. I mean, out of position, I could see having hands like 9s or 8s, maybe deuces, some high equity over pairs or flush draws, over stuff like that. Backdoors like ace jack of diamonds. And in position is sometimes going to have a set, but mostly over pairs and over cards. So it makes sense that in position has some check behinds, even though it's not a bad board per se. Okay, so turn is a queen and out of position leads. He's saying, hey, I've got a good hand here. I know this queen is pretty good for you as well. I've got even better than what you've got. And now in position actually raises small. I mean, it's just so difficult to be bluffing here. Out of position hits his board quite well. He leads large and now you just raise small into him. This is a really strong play. So maybe this is done with a combo draw, pretending to just have the nuts. But this is a very strong looking play. Out of position shoves, in position calls, unlikely in position folds. River's a 5. I guess 6, 7 of clubs gets there. Maybe out of position was bluffing, but doesn't really change a whole lot. And so out of position is Jack 10 off. Okay, it makes sense, right? Out of position is probably not a professional. Jack 10 off is a loose open in the MP, but not terrible. But calling a 3-bet out of position is not very good. And his post-flop play is actually fine. And in position as ace queen, can't really blame him. So in position probably thought that out of position has a lot of money to be taken from him because he's quite loose. Okay. So what do you think? High stakes or micro stakes? I could see this one going either way. I mean, in position played his hand okay. Out of position definitely didn't play his hand okay because of pre-flop. But I can see this both being high stakes or micro stakes. I mean, this hand, if anything, was played worse than in the last one. What do you think? Micro stakes or high stakes? So far, 87% have said micro stakes and 13% have said high stakes. 89% now, okay. Why raise the turn? He probably thinks that out of position is just very loose and therefore very weak, and he can take advantage. Okay. So 82% say it was played at micro stakes. Let's have a look. Oh, you guys are wrong. You guys are badly wrong. So MP, I've never seen this guy. Button is Mosh Machine, a long-term regular. I mean, he's been around forever. So yeah, pretty crazy hand. But I don't know Mosh Machine. I'm sure he's a great guy. I always root against the regs because I want the fish to win, right? Because there's more money for them to then lose. So yeah, nice hand by both gentlemen. So I like it. So we've got a 2.5 BB open raise by somebody who's got more than 100 bigs. So nothing suspicious just yet. Looks good. Call on the button. Okay, fair enough. You're not going to call too many hands on the button, depending on the stake, of course, but seems fine. Assuming, of course, the hand makes any sense. And we see a king 9-8 flop. This board is pretty strong for everybody. I could see everybody having sets and a couple of pairs and 2 pairs and high equity draws. So everybody's going to be a little bit careful here. And the button actually bets very large multi-way. So he's got a very polarized range here. He's representing at least a good king or better. And versus that big bet multi-way, out of position actually check raises. So he's looking very strong here. In position calls. He's not going to do a crazy amount of re-raising. Turn is an ace, which, if any, I mean, in position could have a nut flush draw. Out of position maybe has a hand like ace king or maybe aces. But it's not super relevant. So out of position shoves here. I don't know. It's a little bit suspicious, but let's see what happens. In position calls. Otherwise, it would be a little bit boring. River 4 doesn't change anything. Maybe in position has ace 4 of clubs, but that's about it. And out of position has 8-9 suited. So he does have 2 pair, but he's got to be careful, right? I mean, in position could easily have a hand like 8s, 9s, maybe ace king, a hand like, king nine suited even. Ace four clubs. Okay. That was a very rare one. Okay. So 8-9 suited in MP, loose but fine open raise. And he actually check raised the flop. So he's thinking, well, I've got bottom two pair, but at least I blocked some sets, and he did get it in. So a little bit loose, I would say, but it's okay. Ace four clubs, loose button flat, but I think it's fine as well. And it's kind of close. On every street, I think it's actually a fair play. It's a nice hand to bluff the flop with. You block aces, you block ace king, you've got a nut flush draw. And obviously you can't fold to the check raise, getting great odds to draw to the nuts. And on the turn, he's thinking, well, villain could be shoving with worse draws here. And even if he's shoving a value hand like 8-9, my ace is an out, my 4 is an out, my king is an out. I think I can just about call. So pretty cool hand by both players. By no means a bad play. I'm not saying I wouldn't have played it a little bit differently, but you can't really criticize it too much. So everybody, was this hand played at micro stakes or was this hand played at high stakes? You can vote up top right in the chat. Go for it. Okay, so we're pretty close. 59% says micro stakes, 41% says high stakes, so pretty competitive. Come on, guys, tell me. And let's have a look. Okay, so this hand was actually played at NL16. Okay. Was actually played at NL16. I obviously don't know any of the players, so yeah, it was played at micro stakes. But you're seeing some of these hands are being played quite well. It would never be high stakes when there is an ace-4 suited flat from the button. I disagree entirely, Santi. In fact, that is a good button flat. I mean, there's some things to say about it, right? How often do you do it? Do you ever 3-bet? What's the rake? Who are the players? That's not a bad button flat, Santi, especially with low rake. Okay, everybody folds to the button, opens 2.5. It's the most common sizing we've seen so far. Villain 17 likely is a recreational player, but he folded. Big blind 3-bets to 11, good sizing. In fact, it's the sizing I use. 3 deuce deuce is a great board for the big blind. Actually, it's not a great board because big blind doesn't improve, but the big blind is really strong because he 3-bet. So he happily bets small and in position calls. Turn is a jack, which is a good card for out of position. I mean, also for in position, he's going to float some jack X, but out of position's bluffs are going to be a lot of hands like jack 10 and queen jack, and they know how to pair. So out of position is going to keep on betting very aggressively, which he does. River's a 5. I mean, pocket 5s, ace 4 suited, I guess, get there. Maybe 6-4 suited, but other than that, nothing really changes. So if out of position has, let's say, like pocket queens, I mean, the money's going in, right? And if you lose, you lose. All in. So out of position is 9-6 suited. This is a low frequency 3-bet. And on the river, I mean, having 9 high makes it a good candidate for a bluff. The clubs, of course, are a little bit less desirable. And in position has ace jack offsuit. Okay. So yeah, 9-6 suited, a little bit of aggressive, but it seems like a fine play. And ace jack offsuit, pre-flop you could maybe 4-bet, but calling is fine. Flop call is good, turn call is good, river call is good. So seems like a very well played hand over here, which makes me think it's probably high stakes, but maybe it is not. Guys, what do you think? Bluff, high stakes. What do you guys think? High stakes or micro stakes? Okay, most people saying high stakes so far. Oh, a couple of micro stakes fans coming in. Okay, so 86% of people have said high stakes. You guys were wrong. Really badly wrong. This hand was played at NL16 once again. Sorry, guys, but you got this one wrong. And it fooled me. I was wrong as well. I thought it was high stakes. Yeah, 9-6 suited is one of those hands that, you occasionally 3-bet, but almost nobody does. So I thought, yeah, you guys got me. Or the hand got me. I thought it was high stakes. So nice hand. The big blind is a future high stakes crusher. Maybe he's just a BTS student. Remember the name, Liha. I'll remember it. So nouveau.